Hello pilots and welcome to the Sky Hero Academy. Today we're taking a closer look at a very unique and magical pilot, we can say. It's the one and only Summer, the Ice Witch. For those who don't know, Summer has a pretty fascinating backstory. She was in the closed beta and soft launch, and then she was supposed to be removed from the game, and Vivi was added in her place instead. So if you play the story, I believe in chapter 5 is when Vivi appears, and that character was Summer in the closed beta and soft launch. So Vivi took over Summer's role in the story. Everyone thought Vivi was gonna be eventually added, replacing Summer, but surprisingly, we have Summer coming. Her backstory changed a bit, so it's not Vivi and Summer are two separate characters now. They're both in the same universe, and they're both originate from the Witch's Manor. They're both witches and they're both Carrie's daughters, but they play very different roles. Summer is an advisor for the Night Legion, which we'll talk about a little bit, and Vivi joined the arc directly to help the main cast. So today we're gonna dive deep into who Summer really is, how her lore connects with Vivi, as I mentioned, what makes her special, and one of the more mysterious characters that's been introduced so far in the Acecraft universe. Without further ado, let's get into it. As always, we'll start by looking and analyzing Summer's appearance. So the first thing that will catch your attention and caught everyone's attention is she does not have animalistic features. And I think that's due to her being a design from before the whole shift to animal pilots. But well, due to popular demand, she was added back. But still, that goes with the lore because she's not directly a helper of the arc. She's an advisor for the Night Legion. So it doesn't clash anything about the lore. And again, as I mentioned before with Vivi, she is Vivi's sister, so she also has a crown just like Vivi. She's a princess, Carrie's daughter. We see a strand of white hair with the black that's mirroring her cold interior, warm exterior persona, or the contrary, she's perceived as cold but is very warm. She has very skinny arms and white gloves, very glamorous. She's pretty commanding too. She has a commanding presence and royal presence. The most interesting part of her design, in my opinion, is the skirt that has eyes and seems to emote and react to different things. So I like the skirt. It's very interesting. And it makes her feel more ghost-like also. She's very pale and the skirt is like makes her float, so that gives her that ghostly and spiritual feeling and more witchy, and also makes her upper body seem way slimmer and skinnier. That adds into that princess touch. The key on her back has a shape of a bow almost. This is very interesting. The winding key and the airship, the plane that she pilots, they are different than Vivi's. Vivi has a completely different key with a crescent moon shape. We're gonna take a deeper look at that when we see the Vivi and Summer lore relations and how they both can exist in the same universe, and how Summer's edition doesn't really break Vivi's involvement in the story. Now let's talk about Summer's backstory, which is really interesting, and I'm super happy they did something different this time. Summer is unlike all the other pilots that we have because she's an enemy, she's a villain of the story. She's an advisor of the future to Night, and she possesses powerful magical abilities. Summer was the first daughter created by Carrie. During her imprisonment, a little bit of lore on Carrie. Carrie was imprisoned for 30 years because she's a witch. Witches have prophecies in the Acecraft universe, and Carrie foresaw the destruction and fall of Claudia, which is what's happening right now with the Night Legion. So Carrie was imprisoned for 30 years. During that imprisonment, Carrie created Summer, and Summer was born with fear and night terrors from Carrie. So you can see how that made her the way she is. On the night that Summer came of age, she foresaw the tragic future of her family in the mirror. She had a prophecy of her own, and she spiraled out of control, freezing half the ocean in Witch's Manor. After that, she escaped, and we don't know what she did until Carrie got invited into the Night Legion. And obviously Carrie did not accept that invitation. She foresaw the destruction of Claudia years ago, and in her stead, Summer accepted. So Summer also has prophecies, and she's now helping the Night Lords with the whole destruction of Claudia. Why did she join? Does she hold a grudge? We'll have to see a deeper side story of Summer. How is she helping us now? This is interesting because only witches possess magical mirrors. Summer has one, Vivi has one, Celine, the mermaid, has one. So I think the way that they can relate Summer into the art is through Vivi, her sister, trying to make good with Summer, connect, and hopefully get her on our side. Summer's bond is with Elsa, and the bond is titled Hunter and Princess, Elsa being the hunter and Summer being the princess. I'm gonna show Summer's closed beta bond. And this picture is very interesting because we can see Carrie on the back with Summer as a doll before she turned into a clockwork doll with life and power. And we'll go more over that concept in the Witch's Manor story with Vivi and everything, because we get a more in-depth look with it, with the clues and the dialogue, etc. Summer's plane, the Enchanted Apple, I love it. I love this plane. It's one of my favorites, I think, from the whole game. And I think it's interesting that it looks like an older model from Vivi's. And it also makes sense story-wise. They mention that in the Witch's Manor there's about 60-something planes. So it makes sense they would get better and better and more improved. But keep the main design the same. I also want to mention that Vivi does get a different plane later on in the story, so it seems that she escaped the manor with the Enchanted Apple model, but later on in the arc she switched planes, adding to the theory that Vivi could very well be a character on her own in the future. Summer's personality, she's elegant and arrogant. She has a cold exterior but a very warm heart. She's commanding, she's a princess, she wants to be a queen, she has ambitions, right? One of her sayings is, "How do you know you don't like coffins? You've never slept in one." Overall, Summer is a very interesting character. She's one of my favorites and many other people's favorites based on looks, gameplay. That's why they brought her back from the closed beta and soft launch. And I'm pretty happy this story adapted to work with Summer and Vivi being in the same universe. Again, I think how they're gonna move it is with either an event or side story where Vivi gets in contact with Summer through the mirror, or they can do it a whole other way and have us battle Summer, maybe, and keep Summer as a villain. Vivi is of course Summer's sister, so they have that family relation, and they can spin it in so many ways, but it works. It works very well. Vivi, I'm not sure if she can become a pilot. The plane is too similar, and the mirror, the whole witch vibe is too similar. It would make sense if Vivi became a pilot before Summer, but let's see how they spin it in the canon. Maybe we also get pilots that are enemies and not directly part of the Arc of Hope. But overall, I'm pretty happy how they managed it, and I'm happy they didn't completely scrap Summer and replace her with Vivi. Instead, they created a whole new character for Summer, retaining the original identity but making it make sense in the Acecraft world. Please write in the comments your thoughts about Summer. Do you like Summer? Would you have rather Vivi be in the game? How do you think they're gonna approach the story? Do you think they're gonna bring the two sisters together at some point for some dialogue? We shall see. You might have noticed I changed the design of this video, and unlike the other pilot's overviews, we're gonna separate the story and lore from the gameplay, so the gameplay will be in a separate video. I hope you enjoyed your stay in the Sky Hero Academy, and I will see you in the next one.